All right, everyone. It is Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for Manufacturing E-Commerce Success. I'm one of your co-hosts, Damon Pistolka, that pretty gentleman right over there, Kurt Anderson. We're going to be talking today about the digital game plan and why it's important to be focusing on your strengths and opportunities. Kurt, take it away.
Damon, how are you, dude? Man, it's been a little while, hasn't it? I feel like
Yes, it is.
I feel a little rusty. Like we got to get back on the bike here. So,
Yeah.
hey, happy Friday to you. I know this is a bit of a pop up. We didn't have this plan, and I'm looking like there's no guest down below, right? There's no guest here today.
There are no guests today.
Just you're stuck with me, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're like my poor wife. Like you're stuck with me.
For some reason, and this is really a horrible analogy, but I feel like dodgeball, the two reporters on dodgeball on ESPN, the Ocho, right? I don't know why that came up in my mind, but that is a funny movie.
Yeah, Ben Stiller. Yeah, we're going back. All right, so let's dive in. All right, so speaking of dodgeball, was that a strength of yours as a kid? Like, were you a good dodgeball player?
As I got older, I was.
Yeah,
I was young.
Dude,
no, not so much.
I bet you, like, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of you. I bet you threw fastballs.
As I got older, I could play.
You could throw the ball.
I've eaten a few too.
Yeah, I've eaten plenty. Right? Take one right now. Take a header. Right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's dive in. So we're talking about the digital game plan, and we've got this fun little exercise we love doing with our clients. Yeah. We call it the SOOO versus the so what. So now if somebody's like, hey, what on earth is SOOO, Damon? Like you've heard of the SWOT analysis, have you not?
Yes, I have.
You've done one or two in your lifetime, have you not?
A couple, yes.
Okay, so we're going to take the SWOT. Let's get that W out of there, man. Like, we don't need to talk about, like, I already know I got too many weaknesses, right? So let's take the weaknesses out. We're going to take the threats out. Let's talk about the SOOO. What are we talking about?
The strengths and opportunities, the things we're really, really good at, and the opportunities we see to grow our business, to take market share in an industry or do something that somebody else isn't doing now or do it differently.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. And so let's talk about our strengths. So, Damon, what's one of your strengths?
I'm a good reader.
You're good. You know what? I'm reading I'm reading, speaking of strengths and weaknesses, I'm reading the book by Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, on the culture that they built at Netflix to make Netflix what it is, right? Total startup from scratch. And it is a phenomenal book. And they're constantly talking about their strengths. You know, one of their core strengths, the culture that he committed to the company to make Netflix what it is today, radical candor. Radical candor. Like, don't be no sugarcoating.
Yeah.
We're not like, no, it's not like everybody gets a trophy. Like, I mean, like they play hardball.
Yeah. I've got a long-term client that they practice that. And you definitely get into some uncomfortable situations once in a while, but boy, when you do it with respect and really understand that we're all there to do the same thing, it's remarkable what you can do with that.
Right. I totally agree. So, all right. So I've got a little worksheet that I'm going to pull up before I go there. Yeah. I think, there's a little tagline our dear friend Wesleyan Whitaker always uses: when you try to be everything to everybody, you become nothing to no one. Right. So why is it just so critical to not be everything to everybody?
Well, because really in what you do, you can be I'm a great doctor, right? I'm a great doctor. Well, what can you do? Well, I'm a good doctor. I can treat people. Well, people are always going to ask, well, I've got a problem with my hip. Are you really good at hip problems? Mm-hmm. And I'm a doctor. Sure. I can do anything. Mm-hmm. No, you can't, because there's Steve down the road or Susan down the road. She's a hip doctor. Mm-hmm. Susan knows hips really well. Right. Susan's going to look at my hip and in 30 seconds tell me what's wrong. You might have to go back to your books and figure it out. I mean, that's just an example of what niching down and getting really focused in on your strengths are, and understanding that there are some things that we're really good at. Mm-hmm. And if we lean in on those strengths, it can really help us.
Yeah, I agree with the doctor analogy. You and I always enjoy using the right knee guy, right?
Yep.
So, if you say like, hey, I'm a general practitioner, like you say, a little bit of everything. I'm looking for a doctor to help me out with like hair or something, but not working out so good, Damon. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is with the right knee guy, it's like when they laser focus and like that's their specialty. That's what they're the best at. They work on your local professional sports team,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
and so for us at whatever business you're in, we're always speaking to manufacturers or consultants or marketing, that type of thing. It's like, again, instead of being the CNC shop, that's everything to everybody, bend metal, cut steel, circuit boards, whatever it is that you make, instead of like, hey, we do for like, how about if we just kind of niche that down?
Mm-hmm.
How about the CNC example? Like, what would be a great example if we do CNC machining? Like, how could we kind of like tighten it a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you a company that I actually ran years ago. We were a 5-axis CNC machining company that specialized in hard metals like titanium and other crazy aerospace kind of stuff. Titanium's not nearly one of the craziest for sure, but that's just a real simple way to do it. But you can get focused into the type of material, specialty type of process, specialty industry. I mean, you really can do this down into, I do 5-axis CNC machining of cobalt
Right.
for the defense industry.
Right.
In low production runs or in medium, 100 to 1,000 piece production runs or something like that. You can get into those. That's where niching down really helps you, because then when someone sees you, they're not going to go, hey, I got this aluminum part. Can you make that? You got a high-speed aluminum mill sitting around there? No.
Right.
We do.
Right.
Bump, 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 bump.
Right.
And a lot of people that we see, and we talk with a lot of contract manufacturers, they're afraid to niche down like that. But also by not doing that and staying real broad and go, okay, here's our equipment list. This is the kind of processes we can do. You're not giving someone enough information to make a decision. I think that's the real benefit of niching down is I give potential customers the information so that they can say, oh, I'm not a customer for them because I got an aluminum part, or yes, I got a wicked material. I need 5-axis CNC machining. I'm in the defense space. They know what we're about. They know what ITAR is. They know what all this other stuff is that they need to know. Boom. They're my soulmate, supplier.
Right. Exactly. And kind of stepping away from clients where like maybe it's not a great fit. Like when you think about how many times or situations you take on a customer, take on a client, drains a lot of resources. You're kind of going in directions that you don't want to go. And, I don't know if I say like we've all done it, I'll say I definitely have done it. I don't want to throw anybody else out there. It's like you're like, oh my goodness, why did we get into this? We had a guest on the show one time and we asked her what was the best business advice she ever received, and she's like, what was it? The what's your pain in the butt dollar? Or, I'm butchering it.
Walk away dollar or something like that.
What was it?
Something like about walking away dollar. Is
the walking away dollar? We're like, what threshold do you hit? We're like, man, this just isn't a great fit. And back to that right knee analogy, like our buddy Max Krug introduced that to us when he was like, I want to be so specialized that like in that right knee doctor analogy, if you hurt anything on your body, man, I'm not the right person. I can't help you. You hurt your left knee, I'm still not the right person. But boy, if you've hurt your right knee, there's not a person on the planet that is better at, in this example with Max, he's like, there's not a person better that can help the right knee than me. He's like, I want to be the right knee guy in my expertise. He's a theory of constraints expert. And so that's our message today is like, when you focus, if you're selling services, intellectual property, how can you be the absolute best? If you're selling widgets, products, really having that tough, hard look. Diane Beyer calls it, looking in the mirror, right? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and say like, I'm really not that great at this. Why are we doing it? Right.
And it's really hard for salespeople in the field, especially to utilize that, because they're like, oh God, we got this great new opportunity and let's go look at it. I understand that. And there are some times that you're going to look at those opportunities. You're going to say, this is a market in stepping back and looking, oh, this is a market that we want to break into. And it might be the time to do it. But a lot of the times, those are things that you just have to say, that's really cool, but it's not for us right now.
And you're making a fantastic point because, somebody could push back and say, hey, wait a minute, when do I take a chance to diversify? Or, like I always say to my daughter, like, always try a new food. Never turn down a new food, because you never know what your next favorite dish is going to be until you try it, right? But if you try it and you don't like it, well, at least now you can say, well, I don't like it. But to say you don't like it before you try it. So there is a balance between like, okay, hey, we're going to try something new, but we have enough equipment, we have the experience, we have the expertise, or we brought a new person on the team that we feel comfortable and and justified that we can take on this new service, this new solution. And let's try it. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen, Damon. Let's take a look at the digital game plan, what we've got going on here. And give me 1 second. How about here? How about here? And can you see my screen?
Yep, it's coming up. There we go. The SOOOO versus so what?
The so versus the so what. So Damon, dive in a little bit. So we're talking about the strengths and opportunities. Okay. So this is a digital game plan. We have this with all of our clients that we work with. It's this great tool, man. I tell you, we have such a great time really diving in, getting a deep understanding. And a lot of times for clients who have been in business for years, decades, we still have like aha moments. We're like, you know what? We've always done this that way, or we've always thought that we were good at this, but now that we're going through this exercise, maybe we're really not as good as we thought.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure. And hey, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, we got Sadia stopping by to say hello, and she said the doctor example is really good. And then we actually have a doctor.
Okay, great.
Having a good job, guys. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by today.
Well, hey, happy Friday to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us again. Drop us a note. Let us know that you're out there. Love to connect with you guys. Connect with Damon on LinkedIn. Love to connect with myself. My name is Kurt Anderson. Love to connect with you guys, see what's going on in your world. But let's go back to the digital game plan. So, Damon, when you do this exercise, nice thing, it's behind the scenes, when you take a look here, we call it the so versus the so what. And so when we get to the strengths down here, you see this little section down here, and what we like, let's call it the brag party. And what we encourage you to do is just kind of brain dump and don't be modest, don't be humble. You've got, your God-given talents, your expertise, machinery, equipment as a doctor, whatever your service that you're providing. And get in there and really go hardcore. Hey, this is what we're best at. What are your thoughts, Damon?
Yeah. I mean, this is where you really get into it and you think about where are if I'm a job shop, what jobs have we done that it's just really worked out well for us and our customer, or our customers were just delighted because it works so well inside of our facility. It works so well for them. And they really appreciated and valued the work that you did, whether I'm making a truck or I'm doing a component, a CNC or metal fabricated component or injection molded part. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, but those are the kind of things that you really want to understand is hey, when we do this kind of work or build this kind of product, our customers love it.
Right. Absolutely. So when you really laser focus on your core strengths, again, if you're just joining us, we're doing a little we've got our own version of the SWOT there, Damon. We took out the W, we took out the T. You're in a little happy place. You don't have weaknesses. You don't have any threats. Let's throw those out the window. But when you really focus on exploiting your core strengths, and we talk about that unique value proposition, another great, we were talking about that book. If you're looking for a book to read, that wonderful book I mentioned from Reed Hastings about Netflix, but you and I love preaching about the blue ocean. And the more that you can focus on your core strengths, on what you're best at, that's going to separate you from those weaknesses, from those threats. Damon, let's talk about opportunities. Let's dive into the O. How do you help? I'm a horrible culprit of shiny object syndrome, ADD, whatever you want to call it. Let's chase this one. Let's chase this one. How do you recommend? How do you advise people? How do you suggest? How do we stay in our core by pursuing opportunities? What do you have there?
Well, I think first of all, you get them out on the table. And you go, okay, what are the biggest opportunities in front of us right now? Where just do that. And then you have to go back through them again and you look, okay, which of these opportunities do we have the most competition in, right? Do we have 100 other people doing the same thing?
Right.
Well, that might help you reduce the ones down and go, okay, these we don't have much competition, but these are still really good opportunities. Right. And you start looking at them in different ways. And that's really how you, in my mind anyway, and when we're working, that's how we go through this process is to go, okay, let's get them all on the table and let's start refining which ones we want to focus on. We've got 100 and then we go, okay, these are really competitive and we got some big companies, lots of money that are in these. Okay, we're going to slide those off to the side. We may do that later, but we're not going to do that now. And we're going to say, okay, and then these opportunities are in a completely new market that we don't have the capacity. They're really cool, really awesome, but we're not in the right spot now. And then you go, okay, these are lower competition opportunities that we could execute on really well that align with our strengths. Those are the ones that we really prioritize and focus on, because that's where we'll get the biggest return on our investment of our effort.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so one thing to think about for folks out there is, first off, again, drop us a note. Let us know that you're out there. Love to hear what you guys have going on. And hey, Skylar's here today. Happy Friday, Skylar.
What's happening?
A lot of times, so in the e-commerce world, what we love to preach is that 80-20 rule, right?
Yep.
The 80-20 rule. So let's just say your company, and again, maybe if you're not in a product, you might like, hey, this doesn't resonate, but it could. I don't care what your solution is, what your service is, what you're providing. Is a lot of us have that 80-20 rule, right? The 80-20 rule is this. If you're not familiar, iceberg effect, right? Is 80% of your sales, 80% of your profits, typically in many businesses will come from 20% of your customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, or your product line or whatever, so that's your core strength. That's what you're best at. You're like, hey, we want to diversify. We feel a little bit vulnerable. Maybe we have too few customers or too few products. But if you really laser focus on the 20 that's driving your 80, and that's what you're best at, that's your core strengths. Those are opportunities to really exploit and take to the next level. What are your thoughts?
Yes, that's exactly where you focus, because everything we do in a business is about applying our efforts where we get the biggest return.
Right.
And the shiny objects are very hard for us to stay away from, right? Somebody can come, oh, it's a great opportunity. But then when you uncover it, you go, yes, it's an awesome opportunity, but we would have to do this, this, and this. And that's going to require a significant amount of investment, significant amount of time with current people that will take us away from our core competencies. And we don't know if we're going to be successful in it because we have not done that before.
Right.
So, I mean, you really have to look at that. And to me, those are incredible opportunities to keep on the board, because if we've exhausted every other opportunity, then we can move to those and we can start to consider those. But in the couple of years that I've been doing this stuff, we don't very often get to those other ones unless what happens, and this is what I think happens more common when you're looking through these opportunities, is you go, this current opportunity that we're really working on and this other opportunity out there that we really like, we find a melding point between the two that brings about what you and I like to call, and in the book, a blue ocean opportunity, where we go, hey, our strengths align with this. And for whatever reason, there's a hole in the industry, there's a hole in product group, there's a hole, whatever, that is not being filled. And we can fill that. And I think those opportunities are what really happens the most, because we're always learning as we're executing on these current opportunities. We're better defining our strengths, building new strengths, and that gives us a different perspective. So an opportunity that was out there before, we thought, well, that's the big opportunity, but the big opportunity is just to the left of that a little bit with a lot less competition.
Yeah. And I think, you always give a great example of like, how do you separate yourself? If you're in the food business, you have the secret sauce, you've got the best dish, whatever. In manufacturing, the new mousetrap, the new product, but you share a great example on how, like, you were in an industry, you were in a company where like it took 8 week lead time to make this. You guys took that 8-week lead time and brought it down to 2. I mean, what a separator, what a competitive advantage, what a blue ocean you can create there.
Yeah. And that's where I tell you, you look at speed, and I was reading about this again last week. Speed is such a differentiator, because if you can do something that takes everyone else, say, whatever, 10 days, and you can do it in 1, what that means is a few things. Just, you can react to customer demand a lot differently. You can, of course, promise faster, all that, and everybody wants stuff faster. On the inside of your business, though, in order to go and do in 1 day what they are doing in 10, You have to get super efficient on your
Yeah.
process. You have no margin for error,
Mhm.
which is means you have to go back and rebuild these processes that are faster and more accurate.
Mhm.
That's the thing. And what you'll find is it'll take your entire organization through a simplification and quality improvement journey that you'll say, we used to go through this process and it would take us 20 days, but now we can do it in one. And we have to, because we have to be so well, we have to prepare a little bit more, but we go through a lot faster
Mhm.
and we have far fewer defects.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And from a marketing standpoint, we can start wrapping down on this. Is, when you think about AI, what AI is doing for folks from
Oh,
an
yeah.
efficiency standpoint on things that would take days, hours, whatever it might be. And so now, if you're not taking full advantage of some AI tools, it just can really lend a huge competitive advantage.
Yeah, the speed part of business is something that I don't think will ever go out of fashion. I mean,
No.
because it is something that if you're in an industry with longer lead times and you can come in and drastically change that, and it's something that the customer desires,
Mhm.
it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Right. So,
Because I'll tell you one thing in this that's a great example. I know from having hundreds of thousands of SKUs on Amazon at any given time, that if you change your delivery by one day, it makes a huge difference on how much you sell.
yeah. And either direction, right?
Either direction. Yeah.
And how about what Rodney says here? Hey, Rodney, happy Friday, dude.
Woo. That 12K fiber laser, I bet that thing cuts some serious metal.
Yeah. So Rodney Canada says, Canada says 12K fiber laser, soon to hit magic metals, always improving our shop to better and faster tech for quicker lead times. And I'll tell you, Rodney, thank you for sharing that because, go through think about this. Okay. We're talking about your core strengths and opportunities today. And David, we are huge. As a matter of fact, I think next week we're going to be talking about the buyer journey. Okay. And when you think about, in Rodney's case or whatever, somebody has a problem right now, right this minute. Like I have not tomorrow, not yesterday. Like I have a problem right now. And I'm going to do a Google search, or I'm going to go do a LinkedIn, or like I'm going to ask a friend, Damon, do you know somebody that can solve my problem that I have today? Right. And so, I did a deep dive with a client this week, great conversation. And like he was saying, I'm like, what's your goal? And he was like, you know what my goal is, Kurt? He goes, I want to be able to give my employees a bonus this year that I'm just so proud and thrilled about. Like that's his why right now. Like, dude, are you getting chills right now? Like, think about what your why is. And when you're dedicated to your client, to your customer, and you're just relentlessly running through walls to make that happen. So like in Rodney's case, if you can't be found, if you're the best kept secret, if like you didn't make it easy for me to be found, that's a speed issue, right? That's I can't find you issue. I found you, I go to your website, and the word that you always use, tons of friction. I can't make that purchase. Like our buddy Skyler has like those 3D renderings.
Oh yeah.
He makes it easy to buy, right?
Yeah.
So like right through that process.
And it's like you said, it's speed. Getting that
It's all
information
speed,
faster
right?
to make a more comfortable decision. We go back to Marcus Sheridan, They Ask You Answer. I think it's one of the best marketing books you can think about.
Right.
Just get the people the information as quickly as you can. And you made a great point. The so versus so what, knowing your strengths and opportunities, you can then change the information you have, the way you're talking to people so they can make those decisions faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, how can you be found as fast as possible? How can you remove or minimize friction on your website, your web presence, your LinkedIn, whatever it might be? You get that engagement. Like in Rodney's case, somebody knocks on their door and says, "Hey, I have a quote." Well, if you can take minutes, hours, or whatever, and like in Skyler's case, like he can turn that around like that. If there's, if you're taking days or weeks, man, you've denied and deprived yourself and your customer, and you might have been the better solution, but it just took too long,
And Rodney's got a couple things in here I want to share because he said lead time seems to be a difference over price. That is something that is so important because again, we talked about delivery times on Amazon, but in manufacturing, that lead time. Because when you look at the implications, if I'm supplying, say, a big manufacturer with components for their product,
Mhm.
If my lead time is long and they have to order in huge chunks, they have that inventory cost. That inventory cost is sitting there on the shelf. They may or may not use it. They, you know, all this. Now, if I'm a manufacturer that can turn faster and I go, listen, you don't need to place quarterly orders with me. I much rather you place monthly orders with me or weekly orders with me, which a lot of them are doing now. They're getting better at this, but that allows better for everyone, because if I'm the component manufacturer, I have big orders, no order, big order, no order. If I'm the manufacturer, big chunks of inventory, work it down, big chunk of inventory, working down. But if we get this flow, so it pulls it through, all of us have a better, smoother business. And that's where I think it's super cool. And lead time is a big deal in that. And then Rodney also talks about, you know, he put 4D, but it's a 3D printer for metal. Again, it's speed to prototype, right? That's speed to prototype. You could be 24 hours. Yeah. Give us a model. I can give it to you in 48 hours. We don't have it, you know, the machine's ready to go, or you can get it in 2 or 3 days, whatever. That's huge for a designer to be able to go, oh yeah, this is what feels like we thought it would. Let's go ahead and get going.
Yeah, and I love what Ronnie's saying, because, you know, and again, with our little stop being the best kept secret, you know, let people know that, you know, people don't know the magic that goes on behind closed doors at your business, at your facility, whatever it might be. And like, man, just, you know, scream it from the rooftops, get that out there, you know?
Yeah. And exactly as you said, if you don't focus on not being the best kept secret, people don't know that you got the 3D printer. People don't know that you can do a quick turn lead time, because you're sitting there on your website or on your social media. You're going, hey, we got this brand new piece of equipment in our thing and blah, 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 blah. But if they don't know how it affects them, how it makes their life better, then they might miss the fact. So you got to be real plain in these things to show that so those customers without a doubt can understand that these are the people to help me or not.
Right. Keep it super simple. So, hey, we're at the top of the hour. So, man, Rodney, thank you for the comments. Ambreen, thank you. Skylar, thank you for being
Thanks for being here, Ambreen.
Anybody else that dropped a comment, we appreciate you. Anybody out there that didn't drop a comment, we appreciate. I stole your line, Damon. That's usually your line. So
that's awesome.
So, hey, I thank you for joining us here today. We love kind of geeking out. We're going to be here next Friday. So 2 things coming up, Damon. We've got an incredible jam session on December 19th. I just put a post out about it yesterday. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you can register. We're having an AI marketing strategies for manufacturers on December 19th. And 2 weeks from today, we are huge Go High Level fans. We have the CEO of Go High Level we're going to be interviewing Sean Clark on our show right here 2 weeks from today. So we got some really exciting things coming up for this month.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. Going to be awesome.
So, all right. Hey, wishing everybody an amazing, wonderful weekend. Love your family, love life, and just keep crushing it. Right, Damon?
You bet. Thanks, everybody. We will be back again next week with an awesome guest and more stuff that can help you in your manufacturing endeavors.
That's right.
Have a great day.